Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Steve Down and this is my guitar. If you're just joining us, this is episode 5, looking at West Coast Blues by Wes Montgomery from the album The Incredible Guitar of Wes Montgomery. We are this week looking at the 4th chorus in his solo, and it's the last one before we start heading off into octave and chord land, which is going to be fairly intensive. So this week, we're going to be taking a look at some different positions of Mixolydian scales, more Mixolydian scales, and then we're going to be taking a look at some of his phrasings, repetitive phrasing, and also at some of his blues phrasing and blues language as well. Apologies for getting this out a week late. I was actually in hospital with an appendicitis over the Christmas period, which was fun. So I actually missed Christmas, but had to recover last week. So this week, back on it, and I'm going to be back on doing bi-weekly lessons on this and other jazz guitar solos this year. What we study here on this channel is largely chosen by my patrons, and they keep the wheels going here. So thanks to everyone who's signed up over the last 2 weeks. Big thanks to Jesse, Vladimir, Ian, Martin, Charles, Matthew, Old Wannabe, John, Mark, Roger, Neon Damon, Thomas, Matthew, and Roger again. Thanks very much for your support, and thanks to all my patrons who support me, and to everyone on Buy Me a Coffee as well who've supported me. If you would like to get all of the transcriptions, the backing tracks, all of the exercise packs for every series, and a few extra bits as well, please do head over to Patreon. The link is on the screen here and below in the show notes. If you don't want to do a subscription, even though it is only $3, I completely understand if you don't want to do a subscription. You can say thanks in a different way by buying me a coffee. The link is below in the show notes there as well. And I appreciate we may have all had a bit of a financial blowout over Christmas. So if that is you and you still want to say thanks, then just subscribe and like and drop me a comment, because I value that just as much. Thanks to everyone who has supported me over the last year, and we're into a brand new year 2025, and we will keep going here. So I look forward to seeing all you new members and hearing from all your old members as well. So without further ado, let's get into the first 4 bars of the chorus. Let's take a look at that now. Here we go. So he's really stating that it's B flat 7 land here, and he's doing that by really bringing out the chord tones. So all of that stuff there, all taken from the B flat triad there. So nothing really wildly out of the world here. The next line is quite interesting. So some offbeat stuff going on here. So and then into the next bar there. So some really cool offbeat stuff there. Now, again, there's nothing really kind of out of this world here harmonically. This is just A flat 7 Mixolydian. It's just in a different place, which is what makes it kind of a little bit strange to some of us. So here is the position that Wes is using. And it's always a good idea to try and use a couple of different positions as well. This particular one means that you don't have to move down a tone, and things don't sound too parallel, because things don't sound great sometimes when you... They don't sound particularly sophisticated when you do that. So if you can voice lead things by making sure that you use a position that's nearby, then all that's going to happen there is it's just going to sound far more melodic and far more sophisticated because of the voice leading, because you're in the same area. So try that. And then when he gets into the next bar, again, it's just more B flat Mixolydian stuff. We've got that little bit there, a little kind of melismatic trill there on the 5th note, kind of going up to a sharp 5. And sometimes stuff like that does work. It's obviously not a blue note or anything. It's a sharp 5, giving us this kind of sound here. But we're not going to say that this is altered or anything like that. I think it's literally just a little melismatic trill. It's just a bit of character. So try that in your solo as well. The next bar is that tritone 2/5 that we've talked about quite a lot. Here he's using the E Mixolydian scale. Here's that. So some notes here that he's using. Lovely kind of fourth C idea at the end there. And then that little rhythmically different line that we haven't had this kind of line before. Really quick kind of movement. All he's doing there is a little suspended idea. What he wants to get to is the third and the seventh of E7 to really bring out the harmony there. But he's just suspending it through the fourth there, through the A. So cool little idea there. Maybe lift that and take that and put it into your own playing. So, you know, you could quite easily invert it and put it up an octave, something like that. So that's the first 4 bars. As always, here's my example of how to play over these first 4 bars, using Wes's ideas, but obviously with my own lines. So here's that. Okay, let's take a look at the next 4 bars. Okay, so this is where we move to the 4 chord, the E flat 7 or E flat 9, and then we've got the descending 2 5s in D flat, C, and B, and then into B flat when we move into the next 4 bars. Quite quick in succession, these 2 5s. So usually Wes groups them together, and we'll use one approach for both chords in the 2 5s rather than 2 approaches, one for each chord, because it just moves too quick for that. So over the first chord, the E flat 7, he's using E flat Mixolydian scale, which is this. And he's just using some nice slides in here. So it's a very bluesy kind of almost George Benson-y kind of thing. It's like proto George Benson. I mean, George Benson would have been around shortly after this, kind of releasing stuff. But, I'd say this is probably where George Benson got a lot of his inspiration from. So nothing again out of this world. It's all just stuff from the E flat Mixolydian scale, and then we move into the 2 5 into D flat. And here he's using a lot of notes from the D flat major scale in this position here, this 6th position. So that's this. So you can see all of this stuff here. Apart from that chromatic note there that leads us into the key of C. So we're then moving into the 2 5 that's in C. Again, C major scale, which is this. It's a partial of the C major scale though, because he's just using the top part of it, so that those notes there. And he's outlining really there the G arpeggio, because he's really hammering in on that B, the 3rd of G there. So he's not really thinking too much about D minor there. And then we move up to this position up here, up to 12th position, for a chromatic rundown from G to E there. And this stuff here, this is all taken from the G Mixolydian scale, but up in this 12th position here, which is this. So again, just literally very diatonic stuff, apart from that kind of chromatic rundown there. And then he connects to the next bar here into the key of B, so it's a 2 5 in B major. But the thing that he's really focusing on here is the F sharp Mixolydian scale, which is this. So all of these notes here are all taken from there. So all of those notes, all from the F sharp Mixolydian there. And there's, again, a little bit of offbeat nature here, just to kind of give a little bit of breathing space, because all the way through this whole thing here, the thing to take away is this descending phrasing where he's linking stuff up really, really smoothly together by knowing his positions, knowing the scales that he wants to use and the vocab that he wants to use. And there's no real breath at all. So one of the things to really take away from these 4 bars here is the fact that everything's really connected and there's not really any breaks until we get to that 2 5 in B. So, starting off in that E flat 7 bar, that's the first break that we get there. And then we're into the next 4 bars from there, which we'll look at in a second. The thing to take away from this is that he really knows the scales and the harmony over these 4 bars so that he can connect really, really easily. So he's not jumping up and down the neck unless he wants to, like where he does with the G Mixolydian scale at the top here. And that's done for effect. And you can hear that with the way that he accents that note, that G at the top there. It's done for effect, that jump up. It's not because he doesn't know how to find the G Mixolydian scale in this position to connect with what he was doing down here with the D. It's more for effect. So the main thing to take away from this is to make sure that you know all of those areas, just so that you can connect things, so things work melodically and smoothly, so that you're not jumping up and down the neck to find the positions that you know. Let's take a look at my example of moving through these 4 bars. Here we go. And now let's take a look at the last 4 bars. Here's that. Okay, so finishing off this whole smooth descending line, he actually goes with a ascending line now. So coming off of the back of that last bar, he connects really nicely to that note there, to E flat. And obviously we're in C minor, it's the 3rd of C minor, and he's climbing up through. This is all kind of E flat major territory here. This is what he's using. That's an E flat major 7 arpeggio there, straight through. So with a little bit of enclosure in the middle there, it's an E flat 7 arpeggio. And this is something we looked at in the last lesson. So it's really worth you knowing your E flat major 7 arpeggio. And also, that little line at the end there, that's a real classic line, and it's a classic line that you'd hear in bebop. So it's not just Wes's line. So make sure that you've got that vocabulary there. It's really, really important. And then going into the next 3 bars, the last 3 bars, it's really blues territory here. So this little bit that he does to begin with, this is a common idea used among blues guitarists where we'll have a pivot note here, and then the note below it will move chromatically until we get to the 3rd there usually. So that's a classic blues line that he's picked up. And then another one is this. That's another blues line that he's using. And again, another blues line. A lot of this is kind of stuff that's probably really influenced him from the rock and roll era of the 1950s, which is kind of precedes this album. So you can hear Wes's influences here. It's not just bebop jazz, it's blues and rock and roll that's going along around at the same time. We finish off with some F sharp major territory on these top 2 strings. Moving into some F territory as well. So F sharp to begin with. So it's all F sharp major territory there, even over the top of the F there, apart from the last note, the F there, to really kind of give a nice dominant sound going into the B flat, which is next, and into the octaves that are kind of occurring in the next 12 bars here. Mostly he's playing F sharp stuff. Now that does give, over the top of the F, that gives a bit of a kind of a tritone kind of sound over the top of it, which is something that he's trying to achieve, this kind of tension at the end there. So all of these notes taken from the F sharp major area here. And he's playing that over the top of an F there to really give that kind of tritone sound. And then he resolves it at the end with the note of F. So try this stuff in your own practice. Try these ideas that Wes is using. Here's my example of the last 4 bars. Okay, well done if you got through all of that. Remember to make sure that you're learning your scales so that you can join things up and make things nice and smooth, just like Wes does in this. Learn your blues vocabulary. Make sure that you're looking at different positions of the same scales that you would normally do in this. Make sure that you're looking at lots and lots of different positions of them, not just one, so that when you do encounter a melody line, maybe at the top here, you don't have to jump down here to make sure that you find the next scale. Make sure that you learn that same scale that you were heading towards up here. The other thing to make sure that you look at as well is that last bar. Don't worry too much about making sure that you're hitting every single chord. You can group things together. So with all of those 2 5s that occur in the middle section, you can just group them as one chord with one approach rather than two. And with the last bar as well, like I was just saying, you can group those last two together and make a kind of tritone sound like Wes is doing there. So make sure that you use some of his ideas. Again, I'd love to hear some of your examples. Feel free to send them to me via email, info@exeterguitarlessons.com. Would love to hear them and love to give you some free feedback. Make sure that you sign up to Patreon if you want to get the transcription. The link is on the screen and in the show notes below. Buy me a coffee if you don't want to sign up to a subscription. And also don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. I will be back in 2 weeks. Happy practicing and Happy New Year. Bye.